Telling you, Molotov cocktails work. Anytime I had a problem and I threw a Molotov cocktail, boom, right away. I had a different problem.
He makes a strong case.
Jason Mendoza is easily one of my favorite characters on The Good Place. He's always soft, caring, and carefree, with unmatched purity and no malicious intentions whatsoever. You could say that he is the adorable puppy of the group, and you wouldn't be wrong. His naivety and humor brought a smile to us all, and will continue to do so for many years to come. However, while it is true that Tahani, Eleanor, and Chidi all underwent an incredible evolution over the course of the series, the finale crystallizing their personalities into their best selves, I have found that Jason's growth as a character has rarely been discussed, which is weird given that he's grown just as much as the other main characters, if not more. When we first meet Jason Mendoza, we don't even meet Jason Mendoza. We meet Jian Yu, a Buddhist monk that obeys the strict code of silence, which is a persona created by Michael to torture Jason. In fact, Jason's first words are in episode 3 of the show, when he says,
Don't worry, I won't. Because I'm not supposed to be here either. I don't know how I got here. I have no idea what's going on, and I am freaking out, homie. You gotta help me. I'm scared.
The reason Michael's method is so torturous to Jason is because it forces him to betray who he is and pretend to be someone he's not. Jason just wants to be himself, playing video games and relaxing in his butthole.
This is my butthole. It's just like a hole where me and my buds can hang out.
Oh, butthole. Okay, now I get it.
Yet, by the end of the show, having to be silent and think about life and the infinite nature of the universe is no longer a torture to Jason. In fact, it's something that comes naturally to him as he is left to peacefully wander the afterlife for a very long period of time. His peace, wisdom, and connection to the universe even prompts Janet to compare him to a monk, which, to be fair, confuses him in a very Jason way.
Kinda like a monk.
What do you mean?
But Janet knows everything, doesn't she? So her comparison, for which we get evidence a few moments prior, seems perfectly valid. It does appear that Jason has achieved nirvana by the end of the show, a state in which Buddhists believe that the soul has been liberated and is free from suffering. And throughout the entirety of the last episode, Jason exhibits all 3 of the training practices in Buddhism: Sila, Samadhi, and Prajna. That being said, while Jason does have the core values of a Buddhist monk, he differs from a traditional monk in quite a few ways. He's not celibate, he lies sometimes, and he loves music with all of his soul, having been an amateur EDM DJ and an amateur hip-hop backup dancer. This divergence between tradition and modernity, while maintaining the core values of Buddhism, indicates that Jason can be called a modern Buddhist monk. However, what if I told you that not only did Jason become a modern version of a monk by the time the finale had ended, but he had been, by and large, that very same monk all along? To truly understand Jason Mendoza and the wisdom and purity he brought to the show as a modern monk, we need to start all the way at the end and work our way back. Jason is the first of the 4 humans that we encounter during the finale. From the very beginning, his mission is simple: play the perfect game of Madden. In the morning, he casually acknowledges the differences between him and Janet before going out and completing his mission. Then, he decides. Jason is ready for the end. With that decision comes an avalanche of kindness, joy, and wisdom. He makes Janet a meal, brings his friends back to where it all began, and hosts a party where he's both the DJ and a dancer. There, Jason explains how he knew he was ready, in a way for both Chidi and Eleanor to understand.
I just suddenly had this calm feeling, like the air inside my lungs was the same as the air outside my body. It was peaceful. You know the feeling when you think a jalapeno popper is gonna be too hot, but you bite into it anyway, and it's actually the perfect temperature.
Believe it or not, I do know that feeling. That feeling rules.
There you go.
Once all the goodbyes have been said, Jason leaves the afterlife and fades into the universe. Except he doesn't. You see, Jason forgot to give Janet a locket, so he ends up waiting for her to return. To everyone's surprise, Jason finds it easy to wait, meditating in silence and thinking about his connection to the universe. Then, after giving Janet the locket, Jason finally walks through the last door and finishes his spiritual journey. You might be wondering where the Buddhist values come in. Let's rewind and look at all of that again, shall we? As we are rewinding, I'd like to tell you about the 3 training practices in Buddhism. The first training practice is Sila, representing virtue, good conduct, and morality. This training practice is based upon the principles of equality and reciprocity. The second training practice is Samadhi, representing concentration, meditation, and mental development. The third and last training practice is Prajna, representing insight, wisdom, and enlightenment. This is the real heart of Buddhism. All of these practices are shown by Jason Mendoza in the finale. Allow me to demonstrate. The fact that Jason can acknowledge the differences between him and Janet without feeling insecure or worried is an expression of both Sila and Prajna, as it takes kindness to see 2 people with different knowledge as equal, and wisdom not to be insecure or worried if you are less knowledgeable than your partner. Then we have an example of the reciprocity found in Sila, as Jason prepares dinner for Janet, intending to repay her for the kindness and help she has shown him throughout the years. Also, while I wouldn't doubt that playing the perfect game of Madden takes concentration, such as the one that Samadhi represents, I would say Jason best embodies this value when he meditates and becomes one with the universe, wandering in peaceful and quiet solitude. Finally, the insight, wisdom, and enlightenment found in Prajna are shown by Jason when he describes the moment he knew he was ready to move on. Not only is his initial description profound and full of wisdom, talking about how
I just suddenly had this calm feeling, like the air inside my lungs was the same as the air outside my body.
But Jason shows us how wise he truly is when he gives Eleanor a different description, one that she can understand.
You know the feeling when you think a jalapeno popper is gonna be too hot, but you bite into it anyway, and it's actually the perfect temperature?
Believe it or not, I do know that feeling. That feeling rules.
There you go.
It is through these practices that Jason ends up achieving nirvana, a state of liberation and freedom from suffering, as he goes through the last door and becomes one with the universe. As we can see, Jason's values and actions represent all 3 of the Buddhist training practices. Not only does he believe in equality and reciprocity with all of his heart, but he has developed great insight and wisdom, allowing him to meditate upon the very nature of the world. But, as we mentioned during the introduction of the video, there are many differences between this amateur DJ from Jacksonville and the traditional Buddhist monk. Still, it would be unfair to say that Jason's other traits and values aren't sufficient for him to be considered a monk. As such, a compromise should be reached between values and tradition. This compromise is describing Jason as a modern monk, embodying important Buddhist values but in a modern setting.
I wasn't a failed DJ, I was pre-successful.
However, while it is undeniable that Jason reached his wisest, most developed self by the end of the finale, the truth is that his core values were not that different to begin with. You don't believe me? Let's take a look at Jason's journey. Ever since Jason's introduction, the show tries to paint him as the least intelligent and least wise member of the group. And, to be fair, he doesn't often help his situation.
I am here to learn about ethnics.
However, that is only a misdirection on the show's part, trying to hide Jason's wisdom and intelligence behind the comedic relief he provides. If you're looking for proof that Jason is intelligent, you should remember that in one version of the neighborhood, he was the one to figure out that a group of humans were in fact in the bad place.
I know this sounds crazy, but I think we're in the bad place.
Jason figured it out? Jason? This is a real low point. Yeah, this one hurts.
You might be thinking that Michael's reaction is justified and that it only happened once, so it doesn't prove that Jason is actually intelligent. But if we think back to some of his very first words, we can recall him saying,
"When I say I'm meditating, I'm just trying to figure out what the fork is happening. I think we might be in an alien zoo or on a prank show."
While that may not be the case, it shows us that Jason had sufficient knowledge and insight to know that something was not right. These examples would be enough to prove the presence of the Samadhi training practice, but there's so much more to Jason's concentration and mental development than figuring out he was in the bad place. When learning about utilitarianism and the trolley problem from Chidi, Jason provides a very relevant and insightful anecdote.
I framed one innocent gator dealer to save a 60-person dance crew.
Shockingly, that is a relevant example of the utilitarian dilemma. Well done.
Thanks!
And when the group is tasked with finding the secret spy in their midst, Jason is the one that saves Michael by figuring out that Janet was, in fact, bad Janet. How, you ask? I'll let him explain.
I called Janet girl, but she didn't say not a girl. The real Janet always says, not a girl.
If that weren't impressive enough, Jason also uses the word girl the following episode, making sure that the Janet he rescues is the real Janet. By being knowledgeable, paying attention to details, and being generally aware of his situation, Jason proves that he has the mental development, concentration, and meditation found within Samadhi. As for Jason's wisdom, insight, and enlightenment, they are present long before the end of the series. It is actually Jason's advice to Michael that helps him realize that he needs a new dance crew, which ends up changing everything forever.
I'm in a bit of a bind and I could use some backup. Or, as Jason put it, I need a new dance crew. So, what do you say? New best friends?
But Michael is not the only one that benefits from Jason's wisdom. When Chidi is worried that his relationship with Eleanor is doomed to fail because of their differences and implies that Janet and Jason are in the same situation, Jason pretends to be hurt. Only after Chidi gives Jason some good advice, hoping to help him, does Jason reveal that it was all a trick, and that Chidi must take his own advice when it comes to Eleanor. In Chidi's own words,
Against all odds, I know what you mean, and I gotta give it up. That was good.
However, Jason's wisdom is not only restricted to others. When Michael tries to convince Jason to go to Australia under the guise of leading a dance crew, Jason refuses, saying,
I know this sounds crazy, but I'm starting to think there might be more to life than amateur street dancing competitions.
It takes Michael introducing the idea of joining a group of people that are looking for meaning in their lives in order for Jason to accept. Countless times, Jason shows us that he is more wise and insightful than we care to give him credit for, satisfying the values found in the Prajna training practice. When it comes to Sila, the Buddhist training practice that represents virtue, good conduct, and morality, it's not hard to find examples. Of course, we could look at Jason consoling an upset Tahani, reminding her of her qualities.
The point is, you're cool, dope, fresh, and smart-brained. Never seen you dance, but I bet you're good, because you're good at everything.
Or we could look at the way he tries to comfort Michael by talking about the problems with prevent defense in football.
In football, trying to run out the clock and hoping for the best never works. It's called prevent defense. You don't take any chances and just try and hang on to your lead, but prevent defense just prevents you from winning. It's always better to try some.
But if we were to look at all the times that Jason showed kindness, virtue, and morality through his good conduct, we would be here all day. Everything that Jason Mendoza does comes from a pure and honest place in his heart. So, given that Jason has always had the values of a Buddhist monk, what does that mean for his character and his development? Let's find out. As you can see, Jason was a modern version of a Buddhist monk all along. The finale only served to provide him with the joy and closure of achieving his goals, all while enhancing his wisdom and spirituality. Out of all the journeys on the good place, Jason's journey was the one that balanced self-acceptance and development the most. His character shows us that we should accept who we really are and always try to be better no matter how dire things might look. Because at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with who we really are and nobody else can be you like you can. Hey, if nothing else works... Now I have a question for you. Do you agree? Do you think that Jason has always represented a modern monk in the good place, or at least became one during the finale? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. As always, thank you for watching, keep writing. Hey, you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like, comment and subscribe, it helps the channel more than you know. If we reach 2000 views and 500 likes, I'll start working on one of the following videos. Let me know in the comments which one you would be most interested in. Thank you, bye!